by design. We talking health and talking fitness, talking life and talking nutrition. Way more than looks and aesthetics. Gotta tune in and don't miss it. Hey, go, gotta go harder, taking it higher, bringing that info here to inspire, chugging out fitness, bringing that fire. Hey, go.
Let's go. Welcome to Unstoppable by Design. We talk all things fitness, mindset, what it means to truly be unstoppable inside and outside the gym. I'm Matt Terry, and today I'm joined by our head coach, Lis Rosencrum. What's up, Liz?
Not much. How you doing?
Let's go. And today we're actually going to be answering a question that a listener sent in. So, listener wants to know how programming is created.
I love this question.
Liz, this is your wheelhouse.
This is, I was just saying, this is what I do every day.
So for when you meet with a new client, could be personal training or corrective exercise, when they sit down with you, what's the very first thing you're looking for before you even write a single rep?
I want to know what they think they want,
Goals.
right?
Yeah.
Like what are their goals? And I think there are so many ways to do exercise. I want to know what it is they think would fit for them.
Yeah. Kind of like a preference of
Yeah.
movement, or what do you envision yourself doing when you come in the gym? Yep. Cool.
Yeah.
Is there any other things that you try to get from them?
Oh yeah, loads. I actually just did a consult, so this is perfect. I ask a lot about, and I learn a lot about from how they ask the question too, right? And how they're entering the consult in terms of, they might come in saying, I really want to work on a specific skill, or I want to lose some weight, or I want to get stronger in some specific movement. So, I kind of tailor it to what they lead with, because generally what people are leading with is what's probably most important to them.
Yep.
And I think I know what should be, important for people to work on, but it could be totally useless to them if I'm not also addressing what they identify as their most important, needs in terms of their fitness. So I ask a lot of questions about injury history, what they've done in the past, like what they have access to, if it's remote or if it's in person. I remember I had one client who came in and he absolutely refused to do burpees. And I said, I understand completely. My go-to phrase is I like to lift heavy things, not myself.
Lift things up, put them down.
Yeah, exactly. And so that said, being able to do burpees is an incredibly important life skill, right?
Yeah.
And so I pushed back and I promised him I wouldn't program a death by burpees workout for him, but he was going to be able to get himself up and down onto the floor and back up without any help, So there's a lot of different questions we can ask, and it really, really depends on what the person leads with and then what they share with you.
Yeah. And to your point, like burpees, it's kind of a holistic approach to the programming as well, because you're hitting their goals, but then you're also like, hey, I'm going to make sure you can get up off the floor.
Yeah.
Safely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless you're some ninja and you're driving up, what's a handspring or something?
Oh yeah. Like one of the where they kind of jump up off their back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's not my strong suit. I don't know how to do that stuff.
Yeah, I can't do that. I think Jess is the only one who can do that on our team right now, unless somebody's hiding that skill set from us.
Now, what if somebody came to you with an injury? How does that programming kind of change? And in my mind, I'm picturing when I came to you with my knee. And so if I came to you again with my knee, what kind of questions would you ask me?
So, first and foremost, how does it bother you? I lean, so my background before kind of entering fitness land, is very much in sports medicine, right? An athletic trainer by trade. And so the therapeutic exercise, athletic training has a lot of overlap with physical therapy and with emergency medicine type stuff in the field out in the world, not in like a clinic, right? So I usually lead with, how does this show up in your day-to-day life, and what does it keep you from doing, right? And so try to direct us through around whatever, toward fixing that. Right.
Yep.
And depending on what it is that they're dealing with and the other resources that they're using, I have a lot of clients that I do corrective exercise with and regular fitness with who are seeing, orthopedists or physical therapists or other providers for some of their injuries and illnesses. And so try to play nicely with what they're already doing and fill in any gaps that they have.
Yeah, just layering that care.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome. I mean, that was my experience with you. So that's great. And the big thing that I'm hearing with whether or not it's, somebody you're working one-on-one with or corrective exercise, you said early, but it was kind of identifying that goal of theirs and then figuring out how to bridge that gap to it, which I think is cool because there are so many different goals to have. And like not everybody trains the same.
Right.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
What are some of the coolest goals you've heard?
So this is maybe a longer answer than you want.
No, it's good.
One of the things that I have really grown to appreciate because like my clinical career was more in the collegiate athletics sphere, right? And now that I'm working with more of a population I like to call real grown-ups, we have different goals, I think, a lot of very similar goals as a competitive athlete when you boil it down to what the movements are and how we get there. Yeah. But something that has been so neat is, seeing, I have this one client who her initial goal and I've been working with her now for probably I think 4 years next month, if my math is right.
Let's go.
She initially came to me. She's in her 60s. She was pretty overweight. She had a lot of movement and stability, strength issues. She was she needed joint replacements, but she was not healthy enough really to go through with them. And her goals were to just get to the freaking surgeries. That's what we were aiming to do, And she was having pretty serious falls every month, at least, like where she'd come in with bruises and, cuts on her face and, all kinds of stuff. But now we got her through her surgery. She had a whole host of life things happen in between. She's got a lot of other, tools in her toolbox too. She's been working with Emily, our nutrition coach too, which has been super meaningful for her. But knock on wood, I cannot remember the last time she fell.
That's awesome.
And every time she comes in, and this wasn't even the goal that she had. Like I had this in the back of my mind, because she didn't really say it out loud, but I knew, knowing her, it was a goal of hers. She now, like without hesitation, can get down on the floor, play with her grandkids, get up, do all kinds of, carry them around. She can do all kinds of stuff, and so while she never said those words to me, I know that it's impactful.
That's awesome.
And we got her there,
That's awesome, yeah.
So
that's great. It's like a success story.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's cool. Yeah. All right. And there's other things as well that we take into play outside of like injuries and stuff like that for programming. And it could be like lifestyle differences or lifestyle constraints. And so I'm thinking of like parents, their schedules are very different than, what would you call the athletes? No, you call the non-athletes.
Real grown-ups.
Yeah.
We might be competing, but real grown-ups have physical needs and it, we train similarly to get them there.
Yeah. But there's the lifestyle differences for parents versus maybe a collegiate athlete or somebody preparing for some sort of race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think the big thing, when I worked in college athletics was, and now I was mostly on the sports medicine side, but I worked very closely with our strength and conditioning staff, right? And they are a cornered market. Well, they have classes, but other than that, we're controlling most of what they have to do day in and day out, right? If I could tell 20-year-old me that she really didn't have too much to worry about, never believe me. I would love to go back in time and tell her that. But, but really with our, some folks might call it general population, anybody in our space, we have a tendency to call them athletes, right? All of our members are athletes because they're training toward a goal.
Yep.
And just because you are not training in a traditional sport does not make you not an athlete, right? If you have a goal and you are working purposely toward it, you're training as an athlete.
Boom.
And and so, I mean, I think really the big thing is, one of the things I always tell my corrective exercise folks is, like, when you can't do it all, do something. Yeah. Literally any of it will move the needle, right? Even if in that moment it feels like, this is like 5 minutes. This is not that useful, right? It is.
Yes.
If you could spend 5 minutes working toward a goal you have rather than 5 minutes doom scrolling on your phone, that's a better use of your time, right? And so no matter what it is, like, squeeze it in somewhere, So I think there's that. I think the other piece is the fact that we have loads of different ways that we can get there. We can do in person, we can do remote stuff, we can do classes, we can, there's so many ways to get folks moving toward their goals. And sure, there might be some more quote unquote effective ways, but the most effective way is the way you're going to do it.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So we got to find which way will actually happen and start there.
I like that. The most effective way is the way that you're going to do it.
Yeah.
It's like, when's the best time of day to work out? The time that you're going to
do it. Yeah. I am not a morning exerciser by preference. That's the time I have. Yep. So guess who works out before 6 or 7 a.m.? This gal.
Let's go. All right. So want to switch gears a little bit. Mm-hmm. Want to talk about the technical side of cycles. Mm-hmm. So for this specifically, like, if somebody's listening to the word cycle, they're like, what the heck is that? Or periodization. Look at that word. Mm-hmm. Struggled before. At Juggernaut, what does a 12-week cycle actually look like?
So it very much, again, depends on the person or people, because if we're looking at classes, the cycle for classes is going to look very different than, if we're talking a 12-week cycle, than a 12-week cycle for a one-on-one client. And then there's going to be countless variations within that. I think specifically, for both, really. Yep. The way we approach it here is, for classes, I kind of try to come up with some themes of what we're trying to work on in a 12-week. Like, 12-week would probably be more considered like mesocycle, or something. When we think, big cycle or macro cycle, we're talking like year, if not longer, and like you're preparing for some very specific, it might be a big event, like thinking about, the Winter Olympics just happened. Like, our Olympians who are expecting to go to the next Olympics are probably resting a little bit right now, but they're prepping their macro cycle to get there, right? Within that, there will be a series of 12-week cycles. For us, back to, probably more of what we're looking at. For us, the 12-week cycle, like I'm in a phase where I'm prepping our cycles of all of our programs and classes for Murph and running, because we don't have very much running time in New Hampshire. And when we do, we try to, as the saying is, like, make hay while the sun shines. We run while the sun shines. Yep. And it's light long enough that all of our classes can run outside. And so, I really try to create a progression where folks can re-enter if they rely on class specifically for their fitness, right? And they haven't been running through the wintertime. Like, I don't want to send them out for a 5K run on day one and then be surprised when they're ouchy afterwards, right? Yeah. So we need to be very progressive in terms of how we approach that and ready them for that. So that's kind of, what do we have coming up event-wise? What do we have coming up that, like, our members are going to want to participate in? And I'll try and build it around that. Yeah. So, like, a lot of our cycle stuff now is like in the indoor classes, it's a lot of Murph prep.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, members, you're going to see some push-up work. Yeah. Push-up progressions, and, to get people ready for that, because it's a lot of volume, right?
For sure.
For one-on-one clients, before I go there, actually, for classes, I think, you're also seeing a lot more variation from day to day, because we are founded in CrossFit, and constantly varied is one of the things that we do, right? And so we know physiologically the progression is incredibly important for gains, right? For assessment, the constantly varied is really important to express all of the ways that we can be fit. So we need the variation in there to express our fitness, but we also, you know, scratch the itchy parts of our brain that need to not do the same thing every day. But we need the progression to actually get better at things.
Yes.
So there's if you're looking really closely at what we have programmed in classes, you're going to see different formats and different movements and stuff, but you're going to see some things continue to pop up. Right. And hopefully if you're hitting them regularly enough, you're going to see that like, oh, well, last time I did this, I had to do 5 reps and today I'm doing 8. What do you know? Or maybe it's a higher percentage of our test weight or, you know, whatever it is. So there's countless ways we can do the progressions. With the one-on-one client, I think it's on the front end, it's a lot more straightforward because it's like, the consult I just had, that individual really wants to get truly unassisted strict pull-ups.
It's awesome.
Which I love that.
Yeah, I love that goal.
And so I can spit out a progression for them. You know, I don't exactly know where they are because it was virtual. I wasn't with them. But, you know, once I see them move, like I know their starting point, I can move from there. And so on the front end, it's a little bit more straightforward because it's just like, yep, this is how we're going to get there. And if you're really doing the work, like this should work for you, right? That said, there's a lot of possibility for life. Right? And, you know, some people are working through injury. Some people get sick. Some people have a loved one get sick and they've got to care for them, you know? And so with the individual, there's a lot more micro tweaks, you know, kind of as we go. So we plan out the whole 12-week cycle if that's what we're working on. But then like I have one client who they've been dealing with a number of yucky medical things. And so I'm constantly like going to the planned progression and then regressing and then going to the planned progression because they're kind of going in and out of treatment for some things, right? And it's keeping them moving and still moving the needle, but they're not getting discouraged because they don't just see a workout that they can't do.
I love it. That's something I was going to actually ask you about a little bit later was like, or programming is not just like a set it and forget it.
Right.
Like it sounds like you're constantly making adjustments depending on feeling.
How they slept. Like how.
RPE, right? Was that a 10 today? Because it was supposed to be a 7. And like make adjustments from there or body aches and all that stuff that you mentioned. It's really, really great and important.
I mean, and there's some value, of course, in like the accessibility of, you know, kind of the out of the box programming that you can buy, you know. It can be a great starting point, but if you are really looking for very focused work toward your goals for you as an individual, having those micro tweaks is super, super important.
Yes. Yeah. If it's tailored for you, you have a higher chance of success in my mind. And if you're doing a written programming, I'm not going to say that, or just like a boilerplate written programming. I'm not going to say that you're going to fail or that you won't be successful, but your chances are a little bit lower.
Oh, for sure.
Overall. You're following somebody else's path. All right. You broke down macro cycle and mesocycle. Macro being the one that's like your goal for a year. And then meso, it could be smaller. What's like a typical mesocycle length?
We generally live in like the 6 to 8 week cycle, I think, for a lot of things, both individually and in classes, up to 12 weeks. Like I'm thinking maybe this is also where some of the lines are blurred a little bit, right? Like I'm thinking indoor programming because I literally just wrote most of the running progression in it.
Let's go.
I wrote the progression kind of getting us to Murph, which is 8 weeks, right? But again, make hay while the sun shines. I've got a cycle of like 2 weeks from now-ish, now-ish, until probably by the time this podcast comes out now-ish, until, early mid-October that we can run because of daylight mostly. And so I've got like checkpoints for my like 8-ish week cycles, and then another test at the end, right? So
Awesome.
like there's several tests to kind of get a pulse check, but there's also that pre and that post test. So it's a little bit longer, almost not quite a macro cycle, but a bigger mesocycle.
Yeah. Yeah.
A super mesocycle. And then, for the individual stuff, I think most of us, I think, live in the like 6 to 8 week range for programming. That's generally what I prefer to do for my folks, because it gives us enough time to like really get into the movement patterns of that cycle and get really good at them, but not so long that people are bored.
Yeah. Or that your body's like stops being challenged.
Right.
Or stimulated by it.
Yep.
Okay. That's awesome. And so we would make sure like in like a mesocycle that we're not going heavy every single day.
Yeah.
Like we're kind of looking at you're writing for volume and intensity across.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the other thing that's really fun about programming and is that, you can, even if you created a really long, like if I were doing a 12-week cycle instead of a 6 to 8 week cycle for an individual client, I can make every day different with this. If we're talking a back squat cycle, every day can be different. You're still back squatting, but guess what? You can do different loads. You can do different numbers of reps. You can do you can tempo. You can do holds. You can mess with the rest ratio. There's so many things that can still spur that change that we want, that physiologic response to the challenge, right? That on paper, if you aren't looking at all the details, it's like, okay, I'm back squatting again. It's like, yeah, but it's different.
Yeah. You have 1 1/4 back then.
Yeah.
All right. Shooting from the hip here. If somebody wanted to build strength, what would their rep range typically want to be, and how heavy should their weight percentages be?
Guess what? It depends again.
Let's go.
So I think it depends on what we're training for, and it depends on our training history. Most of the time, if we're looking for strength and or like hypertrophy or muscle size gains, I'm smushing a lot of recommendations together with this simplification, but we're looking in that like 5-ish, 6-ish rep through like 12, maybe to 15 rep range per set, right? At different loads, etc. That said, if we have somebody who is coming in here never having trained before, they're a true, strength training novice, I could have them do really low load for 20 reps and we're still going to see strength gains because they've never done it before, awesome. So like newbies we talk about training age, right? Like being an infant or toddler in the training age realm, you don't have to do as much. That sounds a little harsh, but there's less hurdle to get you a huge gain. Like I think about our open that we just did and the juggernaut total that we did, right? We had a member who PR'd his deadlift by, I think he said 140 pounds.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Are you kidding me? And I knew he was stronger than he was giving himself credit for, right? Yeah. Shout out Rowan. But like, but he showed up here and I don't even know what he lifted because I was out sick, but like he messaged me later and he's like, I PR'd by like 140 pounds. And I was like, holy smokes, dude, like that.
It's a whole human.
It's a whole human. Exactly. But he also has been training for, I think he's been in class, he did boot camp and he's been in classes for like 6 months maybe. So that makes sense, right? You and I talked about, I'm going to call you out a little bit on your last cycle.
Yeah.
Like when you did your last strength cycle, you were a little disappointed with like, I think it was a 5-pound PR on something. And I was like, Matthew, you have been training for like 10 plus, more than that years, I bet.
Yep.
Probably more like 15-ish years.
Yeah.
That 5-pound PR is humongous when you've been training that long. You know what I mean? Yep. Like it's the juice that you get from the squeeze ratio, it becomes a lot less the longer you've been doing a thing, unfortunately.
Yeah. The gains are not always significant.
It's not a plateau. It just gets harder
Yeah.
to get the outcomes that you want.
Growth is slow.
It is. It gets to that point.
1% better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I needed that realignment because I was like, man,
Yeah.
it's only 5 pounds. And I was super discouraged. And Liz was like, I'm going to smack you.
Kindly.
I'm going to kindly smack you. All right. So a question about the programming as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we do drills with an empty bar and maybe a PVC pipe. Anybody who's done like any of the PVC work in here knows that PVC pipes are devious.
Heavier than they appear.
Yes. Yes.
It's like the note on the rear view mirror, note PVC is heavier than it appears.
On each one, we should paint like a skull and crossbones.
Yes. Death by PVC.
But why do we do those type of muscle memory drills?
Mm-hmm. So we should all aspire toward being able to do a movement that we can do with weight unweighted. Now, I'm saying that as somebody who cannot for the life of me get into a healthy front rack without some weight.
Oh, yeah.
I'm working on it.
You're not alone.
Many of us are like that, right? Like I have to tuck it under my chin with a PVC, but from a, being able to, there's so many components that go into what I like to say, like expressing what our body can do, right? And one, and this is one of the things that we worked on with you when you were talking about your knee, like putting you into positions where one, your body can get there. First of all, can we get there, right? Can you recreate it? And that's the joy of the PVC is like, if I tell you to do a clean grip lift off, that first pull of our cleans, can you replicate the same version of that without weight over and over and over? And can you hold it there?
Yeah.
Right? That's going to make your lifts more efficient. It's going to keep you safer doing it, especially once you get weight on the bar.
Yep.
So one, can we access those positions? Two, can we actively live in them? And it's not just, I'm thinking for my hypermobile friends, can you just you can dump into the bottom of a squat, but are you relying on your tissues to hold you there, or are you active in that position? And then, last but not least, can you control it under load and or velocity? In which a lot of the dynamic movements we do in here require both of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we can't get there reliably with a PVC pipe, are we able to safely do it with weight?
Yeah.
Sometimes weight makes it a little bit easier for us to actually learn what the pattern's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
The weight gives us feedback, right? And so I like to use a little bit of weight, especially when teaching new movements to new folks, because it gives them the gravity makes me do it this way. And that's the natural way that my body should move.
I find it helpful and clean.
Yes. Yep.
Because then they're not reverse curling the bar away.
Yep. And I find it especially helpful with any shoulder to overhead, like push jerk and push press.
Yeah, too. Yeah.
Because people want to strict press the heck out of it, right?
Yeah.
And it's nah, use your legs, my dude.
Yep.
And once you feel that bounce, then you start to press, right?
Yeah.
Let your legs do as much as they can.
It's so funny if you think, because strict press, your legs are being used to glue you to the ground, and activated in that sense, but you don't dip.
Yeah.
But then the moment it goes to push press or push jerk, it's like, oh no, use your legs.
Yes.
Use those things.
Yep. So I think there's a number of values in doing the super high volume, but repeated efforts with PVCs in terms of positioning or just learning the movement pattern. Because if you can do a lot of things, if you can do it with a PVC well, when you get weight, it's going to be so much easier.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Which is a little counterintuitive, but it's just how it works.
It's the foundation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or to use the name of the podcast, it's the design.
Yeah.
It's the design. All right, cool. Well, I think we're in a good place with there's so many other things we could talk about.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you could go on for a day with energy pathways and stuff like that. Yeah. But I think
and how to put things together and
yeah. I think for the bite size of this episode, I think we're good. What do you think?
Cool. Yeah. I mean, if our listener is pleased with that answer, we can go into some details in another episode for sure.
Yeah. Let us know.
Let us know, listener.
Follow. Yes. Use the link in the episode description that says send us a question, and we want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Let's get some more questions like this. This was a really good one.
Yeah. I'm happy to keep nerding out about this stuff.
Yeah, heck yeah. But all right, cool. So Unstoppable Challenge. What do you think, Liz, people should do for next week? What's their challenge?
Ooh. I think a good goal for everybody, myself included, is the next time, do this one time a day, at least. Once a day.
I like it's doable.
Yep. If you see yourself picking up your phone to doom scroll, put your damn phone down. Did you say that word?
Yeah.
Put your dang phone down and walk for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Or do something else for 5 minutes that doesn't include looking at your phone.
Push-ups, go. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Burpees. 5 minutes of burpees. Something. Literally something.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. And let us know how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. See us in the gym. Let us know. But that's it. So until next time, be well, be unstoppable.
Now's the moment. It's your time. What you need, true indeed. Unstoppable by design.